right, when we talked about melody, we talked about the fact that it was made up of series of pitches. But those pitches aren't just randomly arranged. We actually have a system for that. And that system is called tonality. You may also have heard of people talking about something being the key of something. Key is another word for tonality. It's a relatively modern concept. We don't really even talk about keys until the 1600s. Yeah, okay, I know, it's 500 years ago, but still relatively modern in terms of the grand scheme of things. So when we talk about tonality, we are talking about scales. And all a scale is a set of notes in a particular pattern. And if you've ever taken lessons, you probably learned scale, so you may know that pattern. And I'm going to give you some instructions about how to use that virtual keyboard to practice making up your own scales so that you can see how they're put together. So we need to go back to our keyboard and look at the arrangement of the pitches again. So we talked about how the sharps and the flats are related to the notes that they're next to. But what we also need to think about is the distances between notes on the piano. So piano is a great example because you can actually see it. So the distance from any note, doesn't matter where we start, to its closest neighbor, whether that neighbor is a white key or a black key. I'm going to start here on C because it happens to have a white key right next to it this way. Notice there's no black key there. And it's got a black key as its closest neighbor here because this key is in between it and the next white key. The distance between any note and its closest neighbor is what we call a half step, or sometimes a semitone or a half step, but half step is the word that we'll use for this class. So it's a half step from this note to this note. It's also a half step from that note to that note. If we put two notes together, we skip over the one in the middle. So we go from C, we skip this half step here, and we go to here. We now have a whole step. This is elementary school math again, right? Half step plus a half step equals a whole step. So you can make all the scales you need to make using just combinations of half steps and whole steps. So if you start on any pitch, we'll start with what we call a major scale. And so if you're talking about something being in a major key, that means it's based on a major scale. So we'll do the C major scale because that one's pretty, like everybody starts there. So we'd start on the note C. We haven't gone anywhere yet, right? This is just like playing Mother May I. You haven't taken a step until you've gone somewhere. So that's our starting point. So the first distance that we need to go is a whole step. So we skip that one, and we go to this one. Then we need to go another whole step. Now we get our first half step. And you can see that those two are right next to each other, so that was easy. Then we have a whole step, another whole step, another whole step, and a final half step. And you'll see that we ended up back on the same note we started on, from C to shining C. We call that an octave, two notes that have the same name but are 8 notes apart. Those are all C's, they're all octaves apart. So we have our C scale. I could start on any other note, so we'll just take this note here. I can make my pattern. Whole step, half step, whole, 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 half. I get the same basic sound. The relationships between the notes are the same. We're just starting on different pitches. So that's our major scale. Most of the music you listen to in your daily life is in a major scale or in what we call a major key. So if you hear somebody talking about, I'm doing this piece in the key of G major, that just means that they're using the notes of the G scale. You could do it in any other key and it would still sound like the same piece, just be in a different key. And we'll talk about that when we get to the period of time where this kind of idea really comes into play. We can take this major scale and we can change the relationships between the notes and we have a different kind of scale. So if we start with the C scale, I'm going to change some notes. See if you can figure out what I've done. It's a different sound. That's what we call a minor scale, and there are actually many kinds of minor scales. This is called the pure minor scale, or the pure or natural minor scale. It uses a very particular pattern, and we don't need to learn this one, so we're not going to worry about that. If you really care about that, you can ask and I'll give you the information. But it's just a different set of things. We started on C, we ended up on C, but we had a different set of relationships in the middle. We can take that same minor scale and change one note, and we get a different kind of minor scale. So I changed this note right here, went from there to there. That's the one you'll hear a lot. It has a sort of a Middle Eastern sound, so if you think belly dancing kind of music, it's got that scale. It's just the quality of sound that you're used to hearing with that kind of music. That's called a harmonic minor scale, and you hear that one a lot. So we take these scales, we make our melodies from it. So in the case of my Jingle Bells, that's where I ended up. I ended up on G. I'm in the key of G for that piece. Now, as a composer, what we try to do would be to put together the notes in such a way that you are led somewhere. You're led to expect certain things to happen. So I'm going to make up a tune. I'm just going to create this on the spur of the moment here, and I'm going to stop before I get to the last pitch. And I want you to sing that last pitch when I get there. So just listen, trust me, you'll get it right. This is not going to be hard. I'm going to make it so good that you will not be possibly led to go to any place but the right note. So here's my little tune that I'm making up for you. That's where you went, wasn't it? You can't help yourself. I structured the music so that it used the scale in a way that your brain focused and knew that that's home. I have to go there. We call that the tonic pitch or the home pitch, or we have lots of notes that tell us this is the most important note. I know you got that right because you can't help yourself. Your brain is programmed to take you there. So when we talk about tonality, that's what we're talking about. A set of notes that come together. They're used in certain kinds of ways. They lead you to a destination, because after all, that's what music is. It's a destination, it's a journey, and you want to get to the right place at the end. So the things you need to remember out of this particular segment, the term scale, which is just a set of notes in a particular order, major scale, that whole, half, whole, half, and that there are several different kinds of minor scales, and that the whole concept is tonality, or a sense of key, and it's the thing that gets you home at the end of the piece.